Welcome back, ladies and gents. Today we're going to talk about Gargantia on the Verdurous planet, which is an action, adventure, sci-fi anime series. Well then, shall we begin? Humans have left Earth to make a paradise in space named Avalon as humanity's new home, creating the Galactic Alliance of Humankind. Mollusk-like life forms known as Hideaus appeared as a threat before the Galactic Alliance, and a war rages between them. RMC Ledo, with his mech chamber K6821, joins the latest attack against the Hideaus. The attack eventually ends in failure, and a retreat order is issued by Ledo's commanding officer. However, Ledo's unable to return and is cast out into space. 6 months later, the crew members of the salvage ship Gargantia retrieve Chamber from the bottom of the ocean, but are unable to take it apart. After everyone leaves, Ledo decides to explore and examine his current location, only to be noticed by a young man named Pinion, the head of the repairman. Ledo kidnaps a courier named Amy. As he's chased and is cornered on a pylon by the entire crew, he finds out that he's on a habitable planet, which shocks him enough to release Amy. Then he summons Chamber, who confirms that this is the planet of humanity's origin. Ledo stays pinned on the pylon and attempts to open a friendly dialogue with the fleet commander's assistant, while Chamber translates for Ledo and surprises the crew members by being an unmanned machine. After the assistant discusses with the other crew members what to do with Ledo, Amy visits her bedridden younger brother to give him a small ship's wheel to complete his model ship. Amy later approaches Ledo with fish to eat as a friendship ritual. She explains that this planet called Earth was once frozen over and some humans chose to stay. The ice eventually melted and became a vast ocean in which many people formed fleets to salvage old technology from below. Looking for other items of advanced technology, the commander's assistant sends red-haired Hottie, the leader of the excavation team, to the point where Chamber and Ledo were found, but her ship is attacked by pirates. Amy asks Ledo to help them, and he agrees with the intention of earning their trust. Ledo boards Chamber and efficiently kills the pirates with no harm to the Hottie's ship and crew, as Amy and the others watch in shock at Chamber's destructive power. Amy disapproves of Ledo's actions, and the leaders of the Gargantia discuss the eventual retaliation they may suffer. The red-haired girl brings Amy to talk with Ledo, and they explain to him that weapons must only be used as a last resort, as people must rely on each other to survive in their world. After Amy reconciles with Ledo, a large pirate fleet led by the pirate Empress launches an attack and slowly approaches the Gargantia. Ledo discusses the situation with the commander's assistant and agrees to help them once more, in exchange for being accepted aboard the fleet. Instructed to defeat the enemies with no casualties, Ledo disables the pirate ships in the front lines and returns to the Gargantia to deal with a sneak attack led by Pirate Empress herself, piloting her custom humanoid-shaped mech called the Surfing Lobster. Ledo battles and easily defeats the Pirate Empress, forcing them to flee. Upon being saluted by the crew of the Gargantia, Ledo is greeted by Amy and replies by thanking her, the first native expression that he'd learned. Later, Ledo receives an invoice to pay for his collateral damage, although the commander's assistant says that he shall be relieved from the living expenses and the fee of having Chamber aboard. While Chamber helps the others work, Ledo is seen sculpting the Hideao's claw that he always carries with him. He gives it to Amy, who plans to pass it to her brother later during the day. She takes our MC to see the resident doctor, who explains to him that most of humankind's old technology is lost, thus it's impossible for the Gargantia to help him return to space. After, they go to Amy's brother, who asks Ledo about his life in space. It soon starts to rain a little, and Ledo helps collect rainwater to replenish the fleet's freshwater supply. Amy's brother realizes that Ledo was actually carving a flute. As the little boy plays it, Ledo recalls a long-forgotten memory that makes him cry. After asking the kid to return the flute to him, our MC later wonders if he should learn more about their surroundings, while Chamber mentions that he must eventually leave it all behind when returning to his unit. Ledo takes up work as a fisherman, but he finds himself unable to pilot a diver mech and sends Chamber to assist the other fishermen instead. Since Chamber is rather messy with his capture of fish, Ledo boards Chamber to help the other fishermen properly obtain a nice catch using large nets. Later that night, Amy spends some time alone with Ledo, and the two become closer. The following day, he does some salvage work with the red-haired girl, and things go smoothly until an underwater creature appears. As Chamber identifies it as a Hideaus, Ledo abandons his work to confront it. He kills the creature known as a whale squid, considered a sacred sacred animal on the planet, and news of its death spread rumors of an impending misfortune towards the Gargantia. Pinion plans to draft Leto into his crew in order to explore the uncharted whale squid territory and salvage its treasures, but the red-haired girl tries to deter him. After Chamber analyzes that whale squid are indeed similar to the Hideaus, Leto is determined to exterminate them all, despite Amy and her brother attempting to change his mind earlier. When a huge number of whale squid are seen approaching the Gargantia, Fleet Commander orders a temporary shutdown on all machinery and lights to prevent any provocation as the whale squid pass under the Gargantia. Leto ignores Amy when she tries to stop him from fighting the whale squid, but he's forced to stand down when Commander's assistant points a gun at him until all the whale squid pass under without any incident. The Commander is informed by Pinion of his plan, and the ship commander Flange declares his intention to accompany Pinion with his ship. As both express their objective to secede from the Gargantia, the Commander tries to dissuade them until he suffers a heart attack. Before his death, he appoints his assistant as his successor. Meanwhile, Chamber informs Leto that he finally managed to pinpoint the location of their civilization in space, but it may take thousands of years until someone picks up their distress signal due to their current location on Earth. As the commander's funeral is held, several ships agree to follow Pinion's plan and prepare themselves to secede from the Gargantia. Seeing how much his sister is suffering with Leto's decision to leave, Amy's brother tries to discourage him from leaving. However, Leto says that his drive to kill the whale squid also comes from his desire to protect both Amy and him from the Hideaus. Soon after, a devastated Amy watches as the ship leaves the Gargantia with Leto aboard them. Leto starts his offensive on the whale squid nest, assisted by Pinion's crew and their barrage of depth charges, obliterating the enemies without much effort. Pinion remembers he witnessed his older brother being killed by whale squid during a failed mission to find treasure. While investigating an ancient facility, Leto finds some records in a storage box. On accessing them, he learns that the Hideaus were once humans who underwent heavy genetic modifications to adapt themselves to a space environment, calling themselves evolvers. Viewing their efforts as blasphemy, a faction of humankind declared war on them, leading to their current conflict after both sides abandoned Earth during the 5th Ice Age, except for the ancestors to the current humans and whale squid living on the planet. Devastated by this revelation, Leto shouts in despair when Chamber slays a Hideaus child with his permission. With all the Hideaus in the area killed, Pinion and his crew manage to salvage rare ancient technology. However, Pinion says that his crew has the right to keep the technology for themselves, sending a radio broadcast to other fleets to warn them to keep out of his crew's territory. As this broadcast reaches the Gargantia, the fleet's already reorganized, and there's concern that other ships may leave to join Pinion's side. Using an ancient cannon, Pinion forces a crew of hostile pirates to surrender and join his fleet. Leto then questions if there's still a need to keep fighting the Hideaus after all they've learnt. Chamber comes to the conclusion that the Galactic Alliance and the Hideaus simply cannot coexist, seeing as one side evolved and perfected their civilization, while the other relinquished civilization altogether, thus their conflict is inevitable. Chamber then informs Leto about a transmission from a Galactic Alliance vessel. As a huge fleet approaches them, Leto sees his commander still alive inside his machine caliber atop the vessel. The commander contacts Leto and instructs him to return to active duty. Upon reuniting with him, Leto learns that his commander is struck with some disease that doesn't allow him to leave his cockpit. When Leto tells him that the Hideaus are originally humans, his commander reveals that he always knew that, just like the High Command of the Galactic Alliance. Despite that, he insists to fight the Hideaus, and all this time he was organizing a powerful fleet within the cult militaristic society in order to rally all the humans on Earth under them. Pinion is summoned to Leto's commander fleet, surprised to be taken there by the pirate Empress, who's now working under Leto's commander. Then, Pinion is approached by the mech Caliber Striker X-3752, who offers him a post as an engineer to repair and develop weapons for the fleet. The rest of his companions are also forced to join the fleet in separate departments. Sometime later, the commander discusses with Leto the next step of his plan, which is a large-scale operation, much to Leto's shock, that somehow involves the Gargantia. Pinion is approached by the pirate Empress, who's planning a rebellion at the fleet. Leto tries to dissuade his commander from preparing to attack the Gargantia, but he doesn't have success. Confused about what he should do, Leto witnesses the people of the fleet throwing their sick and weak into the ocean. Realizing that the same will be done to Amy's brother, Leto decides to confront his commander by himself. Accepting Leto's decision, Pinion equips Chamber with some extra weapons, while the Pirate Empress and Flange make preparations for the impending uprising. Flange's granddaughter is instructed by Leto to deliver a message to the Gargantia. However, she almost faints by travelling so far by herself and has to be rescued by Amy. Informed of the attack, the crew of the Gargantia considers to abandon the fleet as Leto's recommended. Instead, Amy urges that they should do something to help Leto as well, and one of the elders suggests the new commander to make use of the special key that was entrusted to her. As the rebellion begins, Leto, assisted by Pinion's crew, fights his commander while the pirates attack the fleet's soldiers. When Leto finally manages to pin down the commander and open Striker's cockpit, it's revealed that his commander was long dead inside it. Striker reached the conclusion that it was necessary for the humans to view her as their god to ensure stability of the fleet. Both Leto and Chamber disagree with her philosophy and decide to destroy her. Leto merges his nervous system with Chamber's interface to increase Chamber's capabilities, but risking his life. However, Amy appears soon after to tell Leto that he doesn't need to fight alone. Meanwhile, at the Gargantia, the commander uses the special key to activate an ancient mass driver stored inside the main ship, using it to bombard the enemy fleet. Pinion evacuates his crew aboard the salvage vessel and intends to destroy both the recovered relics and Striker's followers, but is saved at the last second by the Pirate Empress. Leto and Chamber pursue Striker when she targets the Gargantia. Despite living a life of sacrifice as a soldier, Leto truly desires to survive and live with Amy. Chamber then relieves Leto from duty and ejects him to safety before destroying Striker in a suicide attack. Sometime later, Leto has become an experienced excavator in the whale squid territory and is also in a relationship with Amy. That being said, we hope we fulfilled our purpose by making you entertained. Don't forget to like, subscribe, maybe share, and comment. Until next time, fellas.